Hello, this is Mr. Huff, and I want to go through a few videos here to kind of help you build your automata device. So I've got some tips and tricks. I built one over the weekend, and I have some ideas for you. This is the one I created, and it has all four cams in it, and it has followers of two different styles. So we have a good example to look at. One of the things we need to make sure you understand is that you need to know how to mark a hole in the or a hole position for the center of the sides so that you can pass your axle through. So if you look right here, we just put a ruler from corner to corner and make a little X in the center, and this is going to become your drill point. When you're drilling, the way these are glued, they will not stand up to a lot of pressure. So we're going to clamp a piece of wood on the inside and then push the wood down on a table, and that way we're drilling through the part into the wood, not pressing against this side, which is just barely glued and that sort of thing. So you can see right here they're drilling a pilot hole and then drilling a larger hole. We should be able to do it just with a single drill bit. So be careful not to get hot glue between pieces that move against each other. It adds a lot of friction, so you want to be really, really careful when you're gluing. If you get something where it shouldn't be, try to do your best to get rid of it. So here's a little bit about how to cut the cams. So the first thing you need to do is make a drawing of, or print a drawing, so in a one-to-one scale of the cam you're going to use for your system. So this is where the drawing templates are going to come in handy. You can say, put your orthographic views where you can see the front and print that out. Then you can use that as a template for cutting these cams exactly to the sizes you require. One of the things I would urge you to be careful of is don't make your cams so large that they get really, really close to the top of the box. It becomes difficult to work in that tight space and can become a pinch point and keep your automata from working properly. So here's my examples I made on Google Slides, but you should be using Inventor. So what you're going to do is cut those out and glue them down with just school glue or some craft glue onto the pieces of plastic corrugated material. And I would suggest waiting for them to dry. They're probably going to peel off. You just need them to be on there long enough to make your cuts. Be sure you have the center points marked like I do in my drawings here. What we're going to do to make sure the hole fits on the square axle is we're going to choose a drill bit that is just a little bit smaller than the axle, and so the axle square, the drill is round. Okay, so what we're going to do is drill a hole in it, and then you're going to take a pin and you're going to place the tip through the hole. It could also be a number 2 pencil, but you'll push the tip through the hole, and then you're going to take the fingers of one of your hands and you're going to put your fingers on either side of that tip so that you can hold the piece steady as you force the pen or pencil all the way through the hole, and it will expand the size of the hole without any additional cutting. Once you have that expanded hole there, you can do the same thing with your axle. So we'll take the square axle, line it up in the direction it needs to be pointing, pay attention to your required angles per your design, and then you push the axle through, and now that cam is going to fit very snugly on your axle, and that's what we want to see. So when you're cutting, these are the rules I want you to follow. We're going to be using X-Acto knives for this, and we're going to be very careful. So if you're cutting straight edges, you're going to get a straight edge. I would suggest getting the metal rulers. Make sure you keep your fingers out of the way and do not try to cut it all the way through in one cut. You're going to be putting way too much pressure and you're probably going to slip and you're not going to keep your line straight. What you do is you apply a gentle pressure where it's just cutting through a little bit of the plastic each time, and you cut it several times. Most of the times when I was cutting to make a straight cut, it took 6 or 7 times to get cut all the way through. This is only for cutting straight lines. If you're cutting a curve, I want you to hold the X-Acto knife at a 90-degree angle to your cutting surface, and then you're just going to make little tiny cuts by moving it up and down, little tiny motions. You're not going to try to cut a curve by dragging it around. If I see you doing that, I'm going to get on to you. Just make a lot of little tiny cuts all the way around. You're making like a serration all the way around the, or not serration, perforation. You're making a perforation all the way around the edge of the curved lines, and you're making a path for scissors to follow. So you use your little knife just up and down only, not dragging, okay? And then once you have the line defined by cutting through it, you're going to take your heavy scissors and you're going to cut along the curve. It should open easily and it should be really easy to follow the perforations that you made. Once you get those cut, you're going to see that there's a lot of rough edges and that sort of thing. So carefully take some sandpaper and smooth out the edges. Be sure you're holding your cam perpendicular to the sandpaper. And these are my finished examples of the different cams that you can make. So the one that's not shown is the eccentric cam. So, but I did one for each one. I would suggest trying to peel off the paper, and that's that.